It's Monday. It's 2 minute drill time. I'm Jim Monahan along with Chris Swendeman. Swendeman, we've got a lot to get to this week.
Mhm.
All-Star games, baseball around the corner with news from both the Mets and Yankees on the medical front. But let's start with the All-Star game. I think the NHL has figured out how to save their All-Star game. Have a president insult a neighboring country to the north.
Yeah, that usually, and then let the crowd boo your national anthem, and it goes downhill from there or uphill, depending on which team you're rooting for. But wow, the NHL really latched onto something here. I mean, over 4 million viewers took in the USA and Canada game, which is unheard of. Um, I mean, I think they found a blueprint for something that may work. Will it work every year? I don't think so. But I think they have something that they can hang their hat on for sure.
And of course, the U.S. with the big win over the Canadian team in
Mm.
the first game. They meet in the finals on Thursday. Where is that game being held?
That game is going to be in Boston at
All
the
right.
TD Center.
That could be pretty raucous.
Yes, I think it will.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm
there, there are a few players, from Boston as McAvoy on the USA team, and yeah, Marchand is on Team Canada. So this is going to be a really, really interesting battle. And the crowd, from the get-go, I think the crowd is going to be ready for this.
I think they will be very ready. I think you can expect to hear a booing during the Canadian national anthem. You
I
know,
would I would say so.
yeah. I don't know if Governor Trudeau, to steal a line from the president, I don't know what, if anything, he will have to say about this, but it's certainly generated some enthusiasm, and the new format has also done that as well, Chris.
Absolutely. I think, Adam Silver and the NBA, I hope you're taking notice because what you have, the model you have, while it may have been a little bit better this year, it's not working and you need to find something else to do. And the NFL, for that matter, they really need to take notice because you know what? Your cute little flag football game isn't working for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, with the NBA and the NFL, I think the key thing here is don't get hurt.
Exactly. And I mean the NHL too. You really have to these guys are going at it hard. I mean, this is not like an exhibition. These guys are playing for, their country pride and they are going all out. Three fights within 9 seconds with the US and Canada started. It was like something out of Slapshot, Jim. It was great. I mean, I literally jumped out of my seat. I couldn't believe it. But I mean, you have to, the NHL teams have to be gritting their teeth, going, don't get hurt. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk, one of their best players so far for the Florida Panthers, he's hurt. He's going to play Thursday. But, any injury, the owners have to be clenching their teeth and holding their breath, going, please just come back in one piece.
Old-time hockey coach.
Exactly. All
Eddie
time
Shore.
putting, Toe Blake. We're going to see the Hanson brothers out there soon.
So, with the NBA and obviously the new format this year, and I think it was a better product than what we got last year with what was close to 400 points being
Yeah.
scored in a game that for years the NBA All-Star game has been completely devoid of defense. And you could really see that last year, a little bit more this year. Some of the players mixed emotions about, what's going on. But I think a bigger factor at play here, and we talked about guys not wanting to get hurt. Last year, the NBA announced this crazy deal, and it takes effect next year. It's a new media deal, $77 billion paid out over 11 years to NBC, Amazon, and ESPN. And like you figure out how much money that is on an annual basis. And this
Mhm.
is why they can't afford to have their star players get hurt.
No, they can't. But you know what, too, Jim, and I believe we were talking about this the other day. One of the issues is with all-star games now in general. Now with all these channels, and you just brought it up, look how many, the three different channels are going to be hosting ESPN games. I mean, NBA games, sorry. But it used to be you rooted for your team and you followed them and you didn't get to see a lot of the other players. So the All-Star game was really where you got to see all the players from across the league that you never really get to watch unless they come to your town or play your team. Now it's so diluted because there are games on 3, 4 times a week, and you can watch LA and Dallas, or you can watch Houston, or you can watch the Raptors, any day of the week. So it really kind of takes away that special, part of NBA weekend that everybody used to be able to tune in and watch all these guys. Now it's like an everyday occurrence.
Speaking of injuries, let's shift to baseball. And both the Yankees and Mets are having injury problems, and spring training has barely started. We got the news a little earlier today on Monday. Frankie Montas, he's supposed to be a big piece of the Mets starting
Mhm.
rotation. He's not going to throw for another 6 to 8 weeks after suffering a high lat strain. And then Giancarlo Stanton, and I know you can smirk all you want, but he will not be ready for opening day. He's dealing with tennis elbow in both arms. And apparently he had been dealing with this through the postseason last year. So while it didn't affect him last season, for whatever's going on, you're not going to have him on opening day. So let's go to Montas for a second, because we were talking about how he was going to be a big part of the Mets starting rotation. So he threw 180 and two-thirds innings. I'm sorry, 150 and two-thirds innings last year. That's the most that he's thrown since 2021. And of course, he had surgery in 2023. So I think his last game was September 30th, was near the end of September of this past year. Probably took the entire month of October off, maybe a little bit of November, doing some cardio, doing some strength training. But in terms of throwing, wasn't really doing much. But here he is now in spring training, and he's got what could be a pretty serious injury. I mean, you know how the Mets are. If the Mets say it's day to day, we'll see in a few months. Now they're saying he's not even going to pick up a baseball for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, this is not really the way the Mets envisioned things starting out, but it did kind of happen in the most Met way possible, where the guy didn't even get on a mound yet, and here he is with a lat strain. And those lat strains, Jim, if any of anybody, those things linger, and for a pitcher, that is no bueno. So 6 to 8 weeks, doesn't even pick up a ball yet. He's going to be 8 weeks behind everybody who's already going through spring training and the rigors of ramping up. I mean, what are we talking? June at maybe?
Maybe mid-May, maybe. I mean, it depends on the seriousness of the injury. Meanwhile, with Stanton, and again, it seems like he's always hurt, but boy, did he have some postseason last year. And a lot of
He
Yankee
did.
fans on social media saying, hey, don't worry about it. We'll see you in October. But you've got to wonder what was going on. Now, the Yankees, granted, played until October 30th. So they go deep. The deeper that you go, the harder it is for everybody involved because you don't get
Right.
as much downtime. The Mets finished October 20th. So there's 10 days more that the Yankees played. And we were talking about Montas. Cincinnati finished, or his last game with them was at the end of September. So
Right.
there's a whole month difference between basically what the Mets and the Yankees did this past season. But for Stanton, it gets back to what do these guys do in the offseason? And I don't want to question an athlete's pain level or how they handle pain. I don't think it's fair. And if you need a reference point, look up J.R. Richard and the Houston Astros. If you need a little bit of a reminder of how dangerous it can be to question a professional athlete's courage with an injury, resolve whatever you want to call it. If you're too
Right.
young to remember who J.R. Richard was, you need to go look him up because that was obviously pretty serious. So I don't want to question Stanton's ability to overcome, and a lot of guys on social media, the keyboard commandos, oh,
Right.
toughen up, that sort of thing. We honestly don't know. But a big part of what happens, and I know it in baseball, I assume it's with other sports as well, these guys have their own personal trainers. And those
Right.
personal trainers and the team trainers, they butt heads from time to time. We saw that with Syndergaard, with the Mets. That was a big part of the issue that
Yep.
Syndergaard and the team was having because his trainer was telling him one thing, they're trying to get him to do something else. And that maybe, I don't have any inside information with regard to Stanton, but that could be a huge issue as to what happened, why this didn't get taken care of in November, December. Who knows?
I'm kind of perplexed by it, especially when you hear, when Boone was so, upfront about one of the first things he said was, you know, he was like, Stanton was kind of dealing with this back during the playoffs last year, and that like just makes you go, wait, we're just getting the spring training. So what? But I mean, he's got tennis elbow in both elbows, in both arms. I can't even imagine the pain threshold because you really don't have, I would assume, any kind of downtime for the pain because, and it's all based on pain tolerance. But I don't even know how you go about fixing that in one arm, more or less both.
At the same
So
time.
at the same time, so it really, you look at it and you go, all right, now what do we expect? Does it go? Does it just go away? Does it, is it just needs downtime or it needs, maintenance, like constant maintenance, or is that what we're going to see during the year? But this is, unfortunately, part of G's MO. He's going to miss games. He's a big guy. It happens. But this is a head scratcher to me when you have that much pain and it's happening in both your elbows that somebody should have said something to somebody and just been like, maybe we need to delve into this a little deeper than just little R&R in the off season for you.
And a little bit more drama coming from Yankee camp, and that was Marcus Stroman, because the Yankees are talking about putting him in the bullpen, and he does not want any part of it. And I don't know if you remember the classic phone call that Mike Francesa got when he was on WFAN. And one of the callers was talking about putting Andy Pettitte in the bullpen. And he starts yelling, Andy Pettitte is a starting pitcher. It's a
I
classic. You
do.
can find it on YouTube, I'm sure. But that's all I could think of when Marcus Stroman said, no, I'm a starting pitcher. And I love that. I love that that's the way he takes it. Like, no, 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 man, I am a starting pitcher. This is what I do. But at the same time, if the team needs him, that you've got to start thinking about that from a team standpoint. But what about a trade? If Montas is really going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks before he even picks up a baseball, do the Mets and Yankees make a deal?
It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I know the Mets have already had their share of Stroman, and they know how this movie ends. But they need a pitcher, and Stroman is ready. Obviously, he wants to start. Montas is going to be laid up for a while. You don't want to start behind the eight ball if you don't have to, especially with Philly and Atlanta in your division. You can't afford to get behind, right out of the gate. So I mean, I know Yankee fans would be all for it. We'll help you pack. All we got to do is get you, and we'll get you across town, and we'll even pick up the congestion pricing for you to get you across town. I mean, at this point, Yankee fans, I think, are very nervous about what they're seeing from Sean because he's already with the delay to get to camp, and Boone kind of covered that, and now it's no, I'm a starter. So I think they want to deal him, and I think they want to put it in a positive light because if they say anything negative, that's not going to help them move him. But sending him across town to City Field, sign me up. I'd be all for it.
Well, just remember, Andy Pettitte is a starting pitcher.
It's absolutely classic.
And that's the 2 minute drill for another week. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe, and we will talk to you next Monday. Thanks, Chris.
You got it, Jim.